Good afternoon, guys and girls, from Brian here at Vet Source. We've got a beautiful January day here in Southeast Texas. As you can kind of see, we're looking at like summertime weather here, spring I would say actually. It's about 70 degrees or close to it. So this has probably been one of our best winters on record. Well, not on record, but at least as far as I can remember, last several years. So got to get back with you today. Of course, I'm coming back to our Lincoln here. Now, the Lincoln, I wanted to put this to rest and keep driving, but of course it wants to be the star of the show. So, you know, these luxury cars always got to hog the camera. So, I wanted to bring it out to you today again just to show you how it's misbehaving and why it's not misbehaving, because it's a bad car, but I'll explain that in a minute. So, what we've got, if you see me walking around this, you can kind of see it's sitting extremely low again in the back. Now, my last video, link above my head there, is where I sorted out the air suspension and got it working right. But of course, as you can see, it just keeps wanting to mock me. And what it did was, I'd stopped driving it. After I finished that last video, we actually drove it around for a little bit, a couple more weeks, and lo and behold, the rack and pinion started leaking. Not just a little bit, but profusely out of the right-hand side, out of the boot on the right-hand side. I'm going to show you guys that in a minute too. So I went ahead and parked it, set it here, and then after a couple days noticed that, oh great, the rear air suspension decides that now it wants to deflate on me. So I let it sit because frankly I was a little disgusted, but not that much. See, the truth is, as I get this hood open, bear with me guys, girls, you know, the problems we've had with this, getting it back on the road, and they're not problems, they're just issues that need to be resolved or things that need a solution, right? When you look at this car and how complex everything was on it, the car itself is a very luxurious, well-built piece of machinery. But this car never saw duty as a daily driver. Like I said, it only has about 70,000 miles on it. So as I was attempting to use it past its functional limits of what it was used to, it really was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And everything just started to fail, which is one of the growing pains you have to go through if you're going to drive or commit to drive older cars. So what I'm going to show you real quick in this video is, in fact, what I'm going to do first, let me get underneath here, and I'm just going to show you where the rack and pinion started leaking. So if you're driving an older car and you're all of a sudden seeing fluid or power steering fluid, as you can see, it's still continuing to leak as it sits here. But that boot right there, that's where it started leaking out at. And that's the dust seal, basically. That boot, all it serves as a dust seal on the end. And the truth is, it's probably a 28-year-old rack and pinion. As we started using it more and more, it just finally failed. The boot did. Or not the boot, but the seal inside of there. So rather than try to tear this thing apart and go and rebuild it, the good news is a rebuilt, remanufactured unit's only about $75 with a limited lifetime warranty. And it looks relatively easy to change from what I can see. The bolts are in easily accessible spots, much easier than the starter was on this thing. I'm not even going to get started on that. But I'll probably update that in the next week or two as I go ahead and source a rack and pinion. But just thought I'd show you that's yet another thing. So that's why initially I quit driving it again, put it back in the back corner here while I drove some of the other cars. So now today I'm out here, I'm going to check out the air suspension. Now I'm going to give you a little tip or trick to kind of troubleshoot this air suspension and see where it's going. So as you can see, we're low on this side. That we're so low we can't even see the top of the insignia or the insignia tire right there. And then on this other side, we're actually still a little bit higher, right? So I can see the top of the tire. So what that tells me, if I'm looking at the air suspension, I know that the leak is probably happening on my left-hand side. Now what I'm going to do is a little trick to see where it's bleeding down at. So I've either got only two spots it's going to be bleeding down at. It's going to bleed down at the dryer ports, or it's going to be bleeding at the solenoid itself. Now the leak is really slow, like I told you, so it's not something I can watch and observe or even hear. So what I'm going to do and we tried the soapy water test on it, and I couldn't see anything in that. So I'm thinking it's going to be the solenoid, but a good way for me to tell, if I can find my page again. So on those mounting hoses, the good thing about it, we return to our trusty service manual. And guys, I know everybody's smart, everybody knows what they're doing when it comes to cars, but these factory service manuals will save you a whole lot of time if you're not familiar with a certain car. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Just invest in a service manual, get one off of eBay or something if you're going to deal with classic cars or older cars, because it really provides you with a wealth of information. So your air line, your nylons, your left-hand front's a gray, right-hand front's a black, your left-hand rear is green, and right-hand rear is a tan. So all we've got to do, we're going to take our cheater vice grips here. We're going to isolate our green hose right here. See, this is the one right here that somebody tried to put some stuff on before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the car on, and I'm going to fill this thing back up again. So let's turn the car on, watch it fill up. It should start up rough for me. If it doesn't, the video will end shortly while I try to get started. So here we go. Car started for us, and let's watch it air up real quick. So it normally will not take very long for the air suspension to air up. In fact, you can see it doing it right now as I'm watching this. One other reason why it's so loud right now is we discovered that, in fact, flood cars, and I've known this from the past, but flood cars tend to get pretty bad muffler systems after a while, so they blow holes in the muffler from the rust. So we will be fixing that shortly. You can see that thing coming up now. So it's coming back up to trim height again. I'm going to wait just a second. And all I'm going to do is go back up to the front. My air compressor should be shut off. And you can see from one of my previous videos where I was missing my hubcaps, I actually did find a set of hubcaps for this. I was really stoked. Walked into a pick-apart yard. There was a car with 3 of them in there. So you can see how quickly that comes up. So if you're dealing with an air suspension and it doesn't come up within the 30-45 seconds I've been running my mouth, you'll see that you've probably got a leak or a problem somewhere else going on with the system. So that's something to consider. So up here, checking, my air compressor is already turned off, so it's back up to trim height. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the car off. No reason to waste gas on this fuel-thirsty V8. And then what I'm going to do, remember I said there's only 2 sides to this. There's this side here where the air comes back in as it trims height, if it comes to be too tall, and it adds air to the solenoid in the back. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take my green line here, I'm going to cover this up, may not be able to see very well, with my hose or my rag, and then I'm going to pinch. Actually, I'm going to do this first so I can see what I'm doing, guys. I'm going to pinch my line shut so that I can close off air supply back to the dryer, and I can see what that's going to do is it's going to tell me if it leaks down again, then I know the leak is at the solenoid. If it doesn't leak down again, then I know the leak is at the dryer. So you see how that works? So this is a simple procedure to get done. It's not too complex. Let's see if I can get that on there real quick. Get my ratchet or my vice grips adjusted correctly. Let's see if that's all the way there. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so our line is pinched, and I'm just going to leave this for the evening tonight, and I'm going to see what happens to it. And like I said, if I come back out here and this thing's flat on the ground again in the back, I'll know that it is leaking at the air solenoid, so I'm going to go ahead and change that solenoid. I probably won't do another video on the solenoid simply because I've done a couple of those already, but like I said, everybody seems to like the Mark VII, and I'm stubborn enough to keep fighting it till it decides it will cooperate with me and be a daily driver. I'm just not going to give up on it. I'm just that way. I like my cars. So I'm going to be checking back in next time when I get some more time. Thank you guys again for watching. If you got any comments or suggestions, let me know, and let me know if you like the videos. I'll definitely keep on making them, all right? Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch up with you soon. Bye.